Welcome to today's explainer, A Day in the Life of an Ancient Greek Farmer, Mastering Athenaze, Chapter 1 Alpha. Let's get right into it.
We are officially bypassing those sterile grammar tables and stepping directly into the dirt and sweat of classical antiquity. I mean, how did an ancient Greek farmer actually describe his daily life? What specific words did he use to complain about his aching back or to express love for his home? Well, by the end of this explainer, you're going to be able to read his very thoughts in his native tongue.
Okay, let's dive into this. Meet our protagonist, the ancient farmer Diciopolis. And to really anchor him in reality, we can look to the famous Moscophorus, or calf-bearer statue. It's a very real piece of ancient art that just perfectly captures the spirit of the rural Athenian we're about to study. Diciopolis is a man of the earth, and through his eyes, the foundational building blocks of ancient Greek are going to completely come alive for us.
So who exactly is this guy? Let's build his identity using 3 core pieces of vocabulary. First up, his name, Ho Dikaiopoulos. Next is his profession, O Althorgos, which translates to the independent farmer. And finally, we have the glue that holds literally any language together, the essential verb to be in the third person singular, esti or estin, meaning he, she, or it is.
You know, the etymology of that word for farmer is actually super fascinating. Ho autorgos isn't just some generic term. It brilliantly captures the highly self-reliant nature of ancient agricultural work. It breaks down into 2 roots, otos, meaning self, and the stem erg, which originates from ergon, meaning work. So an autorgos is quite literally he who works the land himself. He's independent. He relies on his own 2 hands to survive. All right, let's put this together into a complete sentence pulled straight from the Athenaze text. Ho Dikaiopoulos autorgis estin. Just like that, you're reading ancient Greek. Dikaiopoulos is an independent farmer. Notice how that verb estin seamlessly links the subject right back to his identity. Now, obviously, a farmer needs a place to actually farm, right? Out in the rural landscapes that are so often depicted on ancient pottery, we find our next crucial noun, ho agros, meaning the field or the countryside. This is definitely not the bustling city center of Athens. Ho agros is out in the beating sun, in the dirt, where the real hard work happens day in and day out. So what's his daily grind actually look like out in oagros? Well, these 2 verbs basically define his entire existence. First, oiki, meaning he dwells or he lives. He doesn't live in the city, he lives out on the land. And because he is an autodogos, a man who works for himself, the second verb is his harsh reality, pone, meaning he works, or more accurately, he toils. It really implies hard, grueling labor. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what that grueling toil looks like. Think back to that iconic Moscophorus statue we talked about. Now we actually have the Greek vocabulary to describe exactly what he's doing. We have the verb fedi, which means he carries. And what does he carry? Don moskon, the calf. This intense physical labor, the lifting and carrying, is a huge part of why the work is just so physically demanding.
But here's the thing, we absolutely have to understand the balance in our farmer's life. We need to contrast the physical difficulty of the work with his internal emotional rewards. Yes, he endlessly pone, he toils. The work is incredibly long and the farm is quite small. But because he is a free man, an independent farmer, we also see the verb heri, he rejoices. He finds genuine joy in his freedom. Furthermore, we see the verb phile, he loves. He truly loves his home, his oikos. So the physical struggle is heavily balanced by this deep emotional attachment. Look, let's be real for a second. Even a guy who absolutely loves his home is gonna get tired. And that introduces our next verb, legi, meaning he says or he speaks. The text actually tells us that Diciopolis often groans and legi. He speaks directly to Zeus, complaining that life is hard and the work is endless. It kind of makes him incredibly relatable, doesn't it?
The power of prepositions, unpacking kata.
Now that we've mastered some of those core nouns and verbs describing the farmer's life, let's shift gears to a true syntactical heavyweight. We are going to decode a very versatile, extremely powerful little preposition that you are going to see everywhere in Greek. Kata. In English, a word like with generally just means with. But in Greek, the meaning of a preposition can completely change based entirely on the grammatical case of the noun that follows it. It's wild. When kata is followed by a noun in the genitive case, it indicates downward motion, like down from, or even opposition, like against. But if kata is followed by a noun in the accusative case, the trajectory shifts entirely. It becomes along, according to, or even refers to time, like during.
The grammatical case literally dictates the flow and logic of the whole sentence.
Let's actually look at these mechanics in action with some examples pulled right from our syntax sources to cement this. With the genitive case, kata ton patron gives us that downward motion, throwing someone down from the rocks. And katatis poleos gives us opposition, a plot against the city. But when that trajectory shifts to the accusative, katatalaton means moving by or along the sea, and kataton polomon refers to a duration of time during the war. One tiny word, massive implications depending purely on the case. To wrap up this vocabulary dive, let's look at one final noun to see how these everyday Greek mechanics evolved into massive global concepts. Take the word evangelion. Originally, it simply meant good news. But as you might recognize from the title of the Gospel of Matthew, which in Greek is evangelion kata Mattaion, this word actually became the foundation for the English word evangelical and the whole concept of the gospel. And hey, there's our preposition again. Kata Mattaion, good news, according to Matthew, utilizing that exact accusative rule we just talked about. We've definitely covered a lot of ground today. Now let's put this power directly in your hands. Using today's vocabulary, how would you say the farmer loves the field? Think about it. Our independent man, the verb for his emotional reward, and the place where he works. If you came up with ho autoragos philiton agron, you absolutely nailed it. You are actively building your own ancient Greek sentences right now. But it does beg a much larger question. If one small word like kata can completely change the trajectory of a sentence, how many historical translations have shifted the entire course of history based on a single grammatical case? Keep practicing those foundational words, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.